The midnight shift at SETI's Allen Telescope Array was usually Dr. Madison Brooks' time to catch up on paperwork. Tonight, however, her coffee mug had other plans. The ceramic cup began vibrating against her desk, creating concentric ripples in her now cold coffee. At first, she dismissed it as another passing satellite or space debris, but something about the pattern caught her attention. Her eyes darted to the monitoring equipment, and her sandwich dropped from nerveless fingers. "That's impossible," she whispered, pushing her copper hair back from her face. The pattern wasn't random. It was a perfect Fibonacci sequence, repeating in pulses that couldn't possibly be natural. Madison's hands flew across her keyboard, running every verification protocol she knew. Each test only confirmed what she was seeing. This was artificial, and it was coming from somewhere near the Pleiades cluster. She reached for her phone, then hesitated. How many false alarms had the scientific community endured over the years? But the sequence continued, steady and unchanging, mocking every natural explanation she could think of. With trembling fingers, she dialed Dr. Harrison's number. "Sir, I need you to look at something," she said when he answered, her voice steadier than she felt. "I got a signal that's..." "Well, it's following the Fibonacci sequence perfectly, and it's not coming from any known source." Within an hour, the quiet observation room had transformed into a hub of frenzied activity. Computers hummed, printers spat out endless streams of data, and excited whispers filled the air as more scientists arrived. The signal continued, unwavering. "Look at this structure," Dr. Harrison muttered, pointing to a complex pattern emerging from their analysis. "It's not just mathematics. There's language embedded in these pulses. Madison, start running it through the linguistic database." The next few hours passed in a blur of coffee, calculations, and mounting excitement. As dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, Madison stared at her screen, double-checking her results for the 100th time. The message, once decoded, was deceptively simple. "Help! We are dying. Our last hope lies with the warriors of the death world, Earth." Warriors of the death world. Dr. Harrison read over her shoulder, his brow furrowed. "That can't be right. Run it again." "I have. 15 times. Madison pulled up her verification data. "The translation matrix is solid. This isn't just a message. It's a deliberate transmission aimed directly at Earth. And they're calling us warriors." Before anyone could respond, every phone in the facility began ringing simultaneously. Other observatories around the world were picking up the same signal. The Chinese Fast Telescope confirmed the pattern. The Russian RATN 600 verified the mathematical sequence. Each confirmation brought the same impossible conclusion. Humanity had just received its first verified alien distress call. Madison sat back in her chair, her mind racing. Why would advanced aliens capable of interstellar communication need Earth's help? And why refer to humans as warriors from a death world? The implications made her head spin. "Dr. Brooks," a stern voice cut through her thoughts. She looked up to see a group of serious-looking government officials entering the room, their badges marking them as NASA and military intelligence. "We need you to walk us through everything you found, from the beginning." As Madison began her explanation, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the start. Somewhere out there, someone, something, was desperate enough to reach across the vast distances of space to ask for Earth's help. And they weren't just asking for any help. They were specifically calling humans warriors, as if they knew something about Earth that humans themselves didn't. The coffee in her forgotten mug had long since gone cold, but Madison didn't need caffeine anymore. The greatest discovery in human history was unfolding before her eyes, and she had a feeling that answering this call would change everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. 3 days after the signal's discovery, Madison found herself in a hastily converted military bunker, surrounded by screens displaying data that challenged everything humanity thought they knew about life in the universe. The Aetheri, as they called themselves, had finally established a stable video link, and what Madison saw left her speechless. The alien diplomat appeared as a gossamer-thin creature, almost crystalline in its delicacy. Its translucent body seemed to float in what looked like a thick purple fluid. But what struck Madison most was the elaborate protective suit it wore, not unlike a hazmat suit, but far more advanced. "We apologize for the delay in visual communication." The ethere's words appeared as text while a melodic series of chimes filled the room. "Adjusting our transmission systems to withstand your planet's intense conditions took time." General Roberts, standing beside Madison, leaned forward. "What do you mean by intense conditions?" The ethere's form shimmered slightly, a motion Madison would later learn indicated deep concern. "Your world, what you call Earth, is classified in our databases as an extreme environment planet. What you consider normal would kill most sentient species in the galaxy within minutes." A series of holographic displays materialized, showing comparative data between Earth and other inhabited worlds. Madison's scientific mind reeled at the numbers. Earth's gravity was nearly triple that of the galactic average. Our atmospheric pressure would crush most species. Even our background radiation levels, which we'd evolved to handle, were considered catastrophically dangerous. "You mean we're the scary ones?" Dr. Harrison whispered, voicing what everyone was thinking. "Your species evolved under conditions we consider impossible for complex life," the Ethery continued. "Your bodies are dense enough to withstand forces that would shatter our bones. Your immune systems are so aggressive they would destroy most other forms of life in the galaxy. You can survive temperature variations that would kill most species, and your ability to process toxins is terrifying." Madison watched as more data scrolled across the screens. According to galactic standards, humans were practically superheroes. Our muscles, developed to fight Earth's gravity, made us incredibly strong by cosmic standards. Our immune systems, evolved to fight Earth's countless pathogens, were more robust than any known species. "The bacterial infection killing our people," the Ethery explained, "is similar to what you call the common cold." The room fell silent. Madison thought of all the times she'd gone to work with a slight sniffle, powering through her day with nothing more than some over-the-counter medicine. What was a minor inconvenience to humans was an extinction-level threat to the Ethery. "Your children," the alien continued, "routinely survive diseases that would devastate our worlds. Your bodies repair radiation damage that would be fatal to us. Even your world's daily temperature variations exceed our species' total survival range." General Roberts straightened his uniform. "And this is why you call us warriors. We have watched your species with fascination. And yes, fear. You throw yourselves from great heights for entertainment. You willingly enter burning buildings to save others. You dive into crushing ocean depths. You climb mountains where the air is too thin for most species to survive. Your entertainment often involves deliberate exposure to conditions that we would consider lethal." The Ethery's form rippled again. "You are warriors not because you choose to fight, but because your very existence is a constant battle against conditions that would kill any other known species." Madison sat back, her mind spinning. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe, imagining advanced alien civilizations that might one day reach down to help them advance. Instead, they discovered that Earth itself was the crucible that had forged humanity into something unique, living proof that life could not only survive, but thrive in conditions the rest of the galaxy considered impossible. "We need your help," the Ethery concluded. "Your strength, your resilience, your warrior spirit. Will you answer our call?" Madison looked around the room at the stunned faces of her colleagues. They had all come expecting first contact with a superior alien civilization. Instead, they found out they were the galaxy's superheroes, and their first mission was about to begin. The NASA training facility buzzed with an energy unlike anything in its history. Madison watched as Jack Torres, the ex-Navy SEAL turned immunologist, bench-pressed what would normally be an impossible weight with ease. In the facility's reduced gravity chamber, calibrated to match the HFY ship's conditions. Earth-trained muscles proved almost too powerful. "Dial it back, Torres," Maria Rodriguez called from across the chamber, where she was practicing precision welding in the lower gravity. "We're supposed to be learning control, not showing off." The deep-sea welder's steady hands hadn't wavered, even as she floated several inches off the ground. "Easy for you to say, Storm," Torres shot back, using her nickname. "You're not the one who has to handle medical equipment designed for beings that think a paper cut is lethal trauma." Madison checked her tablet, reviewing the HFY's specifications for their ship. What they considered a robust vessel would feel to humans like it was made of tissue paper. The aliens had been horrified to learn that humans routinely built structures that could withstand thousands of times more pressure than their ships. Tyler "Crash" Henderson, the parkour athlete they'd recruited, drifted by in a controlled spin. "Anyone else think it's hilarious that we spent centuries thinking aliens would invade Earth, only to find out they're literally afraid to land here?" "Focus, people," General Roberts' voice crackled over the intercom. "The HFY ship enters Earth orbit in 6 hours. Dr. Brooks, run through the environmental briefing again." Madison cleared her throat. "Right. The ship's life support is set to what they consider emergency minimal levels, which for us means about half Earth's gravity and air pressure, similar to 14,000 feet altitude. Temperature will be maintained at what they consider a freezing 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Any higher would damage their systems. And we can't bring our own equipment because—" Torres left the question hanging. "Because anything built to Earth specifications would be too heavy for their ship's structure." Rodriguez answered before Madison could. One wrong move with Earth-normal tools could punch right through their hull. Madison watched as Henderson executed a perfect zero-gravity flip. The parkour athlete had adapted to the reduced gravity faster than any of them, his years of spatial awareness training proving invaluable. The HFY also warned that their artificial gravity could fluctuate. She added, "Crash, that's why you're here. You'll need to train the rest of us how to move when gravity becomes unpredictable." The team gathered around a holographic display showing their destination, a massive medical station near the Pleiades. The structure looked like a delicate crystalline snowflake, beautiful but frighteningly fragile to Earth-trained eyes. "Remember," Madison continued, "what we considered normal body temperature would burn their medical sensors. We'll be wearing their environmental suits, modified to keep our extreme heat from damaging their equipment. And for God's sake, remember their bones can shatter under what we'd consider a friendly pat on the back." Torres flexed his hand, looking troubled. "So we're going to be bulls in an alien china shop, trying to perform delicate medical procedures. We're going to be superheroes," Henderson corrected, finally touching down. "Think about it. We're about to walk into an environment that would kill any other known species to save people who can barely comprehend how we survive on Earth. That's some serious comic book stuff." A soft alarm chimed, and the chamber's lights shifted to blue. "HFY ship has entered lunar orbit," General Roberts announced. "Suit up, team. You're about to make history." As Madison helped Rodriguez check her modified environmental suit, she caught her reflection in a panel. The crystalline material of the alien suit made them all look otherworldly, more like cosmic beings than humans. In a way, she supposed, that's exactly what they were, at least from the galaxy's perspective. "Ready for this?" Henderson asked, his usual grin visible through the transparent faceplate. Madison took a deep breath of Earth-normal air, her last for what could be weeks. Time to show the galaxy what Death Worlders can do. The mission to save an alien civilization was about to begin, and humanity's first interstellar rescue team was ready to prove that being born on a death world had its advantages. The HFY medical station loomed before them, its crystalline structure catching starlight like a massive diamond snowflake. Madison's breath caught in her throat as their transport pod approached, not from the station's beauty, but from the visible cracks spreading across its central hub. "Those structural fractures shouldn't be possible," Rodriguez muttered, her welder's eye-catching details the others missed. "Their material strength calculations must be off." Life support failing in sections 14 through 17. A melodic ethery voice announced through their suits' communication systems. Human delegation, we apologize, but you must enter through the emergency dock. Standard arrivals are compromised. Torres checked his modified medical kit for the 100th time. Compromised meaning the artificial gravity is fluctuating between 0 and what they consider their maximum safe level, about 1/3 of Earth's gravity. Madison translated, watching diagnostic data scroll across her suit's heads-up display. Henderson grinned inside his helmet. So, just another Tuesday at the Parker gym. No problem. Their pod docked with a gentleness that felt almost absurd to the humans. Madison remembered the ethery engineers' horror when they explained how much G-force human astronauts routinely endured during Earth launches. The airlock cycled, and they entered their first alien space station. The corridor before them was easily 20 feet wide, its crystalline walls refracting emergency lights in dazzling patterns. But it was the aliens themselves that stopped the team in their tracks. Dozens of different species crowded the chamber, most suspended in various types of protective fields or floating in bubbles of liquid. Their bodies ranged from crystalline structures like the etherite to what looked like living clouds of gas. All of them recoiled as the humans entered. By the void, they really are dense world creatures. A floating orb of purple energy pulsed as it spoke, its words translated through their suits. Look at how they resist the gravity fluctuations. Madison realized they were walking normally despite the gravity shifting wildly. What felt like minor inconveniences to them was apparently terrifying to watch. Honored Earth warriors, an ethery medical director floated forward, its protective field humming. We have crisis in primary medical wing. Gravity control failing. Patients trapped. Show us. Torres stepped forward, then immediately stepped back as several aliens flinched at his quick movement. They followed the medical director through corridors that looked more like art installations than a hospital. Madison's suit sensors screamed warnings about structural integrity, radiation levels that would be lethal to the aliens, and temperature variations that could shatter their crystalline bodies. The situation in the medical wing stopped them cold. Dozens of patients were trapped in a section where the artificial gravity was completely out. For the aliens, the lack of their usual gravitational reference made them unable to function. Their bodies, evolved for much lower gravity environments, couldn't handle the disorientation. The backup systems, the medical director chimed urgently. They are in chamber beyond. But gravity there is. Is what? Rodriguez asked. Is nearly 1/4 of your Earth gravity. The director's chimes became almost inaudible. No species can survive such crushing force for more than moments. The humans exchanged glances. 1/4 Earth gravity was what they had been practicing in for fun. Henderson. Madison turned to their Parker expert. Think you can get through there and stabilize the gravity. Watch me. He pushed off with perfect control, his Earth-trained muscles making the supposedly crushing gravity look like a minor inconvenience. The aliens watched in what could only be described as terror and awe as he practically danced through the lethal environment. Medical team to Section 3. An urgent call came through their comms. Containment failing. Go. Madison nodded to Torres. Rodriguez, we need to reinforce these structural weak points before. A cracking sound interrupted her, and a spiderweb of fractures appeared along one wall. Before that happens, she finished. Move. The rescue mission was quickly becoming more complex than any of them had imagined. But as Madison watched her team spring into action, moving with what must have seemed like supernatural strength and resilience to the aliens, she realized something. Humanity had spent so long looking up at the stars, dreaming of being heroes in space. They never imagined that simply being human would be enough to make them exactly that. Madison's hands flew across the alien console, her Earth-trained reflexes making the delicate controls feel sluggish and oversensitive. The holographic display showed the spread of the infection through the station in angry red pulses, each one representing another containment failure. Found something. Torres's voice crackled through the comm. He was in what the aliens called the extreme quarantine sector, which to humans felt like a pleasant spring day. "You need to see this, Doc." She found him studying a derelict ship sealed behind multiple containment fields. Unlike the elegant crystalline designs of the Aetheri vessels, this one was built like a tank. Its hull bore scorch marks and impact craters that told a story of a violent end. "That's impossible," Madison breathed, checking her suit's readings. "Those are Earth-normal metal alloys. Titanium, steel. Gets better." Torres pointed to the ship's markings. "Look familiar." Through the containment field, she could make out faded Cyrillic letters. "A Russian probe. But we've never sent anything this far." "Not recently." A new voice joined them as Rodriguez entered the quarantine zone, her welding tools still hot from repairing another failing section. "But check the design. It's old. Like Cold War old." Madison's mind raced. A lost Soviet deep space probe, one that actually made it this far, and crashed on what they thought was a dead world. Torres added grimly, "But it was dead for a reason. The planet had conditions similar to Earth. The probe carried Earth bacteria. When the Aetheri salvage team found it, they brought back more than just technology." Madison finished. "Our common cold bacteria had decades to mutate in space. To them, it's practically a supervirus." The station shuddered, and new alarms screamed through their comms. Henderson's voice cut through the chaos. "We've got bigger problems. The main containment field is failing. If it goes, the whole medical wing loses atmosphere." "That's not even the worst part," Rodriguez added, her diagnostic tools showing readings that made her curse in Spanish. "The backup life support is starting to overload. If it kicks in, it'll create Earth-like conditions." Madison realized with horror. "It'll kill everyone on the station instantly." Through their faceplates, they could see the terror spreading among the alien patients. The Aetheri medical staff floated in their protective bubbles, their crystalline forms vibrating with fear as the station's systems continued to deteriorate. "Options," Torres demanded. Madison checked the station schematics. The infection's spreading through their atmospheric recycling system. "We need to purge it, but the controls are in a section with almost Earth-normal pressure." "That'll crush them," Rodriguez said. "Not us." Henderson's voice was steady. "But we got maybe 10 minutes before those backup systems trigger." Madison made a decision. "Henderson, get to the backup life support and keep it from activating. Rodriguez, we need those structural repairs completed before we can attempt to purge. Torres, start synthesizing a stronger treatment. I'm going to the control room." "Madison." Torres grabbed her arm, then quickly let go when the slight pressure made nearby aliens flinch. "The control room is reading at 0.9 Earth gravity. Even for us, that's going to be rough after days in this reduced gravity." She managed a tight smile. "Better me than them. I'd rather feel heavy than watch everyone on this station die." As she made her way through the increasingly unstable station, Madison couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity had always imagined first contact would involve meeting beings of unimaginable power and capability. Instead, they found a galaxy full of life so delicate that the very things that made humans normal made them extraordinary here. The control room door loomed before her, its warning signs declaring it lethal to all known life. Madison took a deep breath and reached for the handle. Behind her, she could hear the crystalline walls groaning under stresses they were never meant to endure. Time to show the galaxy what a Death Worlder could really do. The control room's gravity hit Madison like a weighted blanket, familiar yet suddenly demanding after days in the station's lighter conditions. Warning lights flashed across alien displays as she fought her way to the main console. "Status report," she managed, each step deliberately measured against the almost Earth-normal gravity. "Bad to worse, Doc." Henderson's voice came through between breaths. He was navigating a section of complete gravitational failure, using his parkour skills to bounce between walls while avoiding patches of deadly to aliens radiation. Backup systems are going crazy. Whatever we're doing, we need to do it fast. In the medical lab, Torres worked with a speed that made the watching aliens tremble. To them, his movements were terrifyingly swift, his dense Earth-evolved muscles allowing him to handle equipment with what they considered impossible precision in the varying gravity. "I think I've got something," he reported, carefully measuring a modified version of human antibodies. "Our immune response to the common cold, modified to work with their biology. But delivering it will be suicide." An ethery medical officer chimed. "The distribution system runs through sections of pure vacuum." Madison heard Rodriguez laugh over the comm. "Vacuum? That's it. Give me a suit rated for space and I'll have it done in 10 minutes. I've worked deeper underwater than this station is long." "Impossible." The aliens' chimes became discordant. "The pressure differentials alone are less than what I dealt with welding oil rigs," Rodriguez cut in. "Trust me, vacuum's not the problem. The problem is getting the cure to everyone before the backup systems fry us all." Madison's fingers danced across the alien controls, bringing up station schematics. "Henderson, what do you see in the backup control room?" Besides a bunch of terrified aliens watching me bounce around in lethal conditions. There was a grunt as he maneuvered through another gravity-dead zone. "The system's locked into some kind of safety protocol. It thinks the current atmosphere is toxic, so it's trying to convert to what it considers safe levels, which would be lethal to everyone here," Madison finished. She studied the readouts, her mind racing. "Wait, Torres, what if we use that?" "Use what?" "The backup system. It's designed to flood the station with new atmosphere. If we can reprogram it, we could deliver the treatment to every section simultaneously." Torres caught on. "But the programming is in a section reading at Earth normal gravity," the ethery medical officer chimed in despair. "No one can survive." Henderson's laugh cut through the comm. "Doc, remember that parkour sequence I showed you? The one you said looked impossible." Madison smiled grimly. "The inverted wall run. I remember. Time to prove impossible is just another word for hasn't been done by a human yet." What followed would become legend in galactic history. Henderson launched himself through sections of varying gravity, using momentum and skill to navigate what the aliens considered lethal conditions. His body, evolved to handle Earth's punishing gravity, turned the station's environmental hazards into advantages. Torres worked at speeds that appeared supernatural to the aliens, his hand steady even as the gravity fluctuated around him. The modified treatment, based on humanity's robust immune system, was ready in minutes rather than the days the aliens had estimated. Rodriguez, sealed in her reinforced suit, moved through vacuum sections with casual confidence, installing delivery systems that would have shattered any alien engineer attempting the same task. And Madison, her body straining against the familiar pull of Earth normal gravity, coordinated it all from a control room that no other known species could even enter. "Ready," Henderson called, having reached the backup systems. "Treatment loaded," Torres confirmed. "Distribution network secured," Rodriguez reported. Madison took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both gravity and responsibility. "On my mark. Now." The station hummed as the backup systems activated, but instead of deadly Earth normal atmosphere, they delivered Torres's modified treatment throughout the facility. The effect was almost immediate. Infection readings began dropping across all sectors. Through the control room's window, Madison watched as color returned to the crystalline forms of the ethery. Their chimes, which had been discordant with illness, began to harmonize again. "It's working," she breathed, allowing herself to smile. "It's actually working." "Of course it is," Henderson quipped, still hanging upside down in what the aliens considered crushing gravity. "We're death worlders, remember? Making the impossible possible is kind of our thing." The station's core pulsed with angry red light as Madison raced through the now familiar crystalline corridors. The treatment was working, yes, but they'd discovered a terrible consequence. As the aliens recovered, their increased activity was overwhelming the station's already damaged systems. Core temperature rising. The station's AI chimed in what Madison had learned to recognize as panic. Crystalline matrix approaching shatter point. In English, Henderson called over the comm, still manning the backup systems. The station's about to tear itself apart, Rodriguez translated, her voice tight with concentration as she welded another crack in the primary support structure. These repairs aren't holding. The whole superstructure is destabilizing. Torres's voice cut through the chaos. Madison, remember what you said about Earth bacteria surviving in space. I just checked the core's composition. It's not just overheating, it's infected. The bacteria have been eating away at the crystal matrix for weeks. Madison skidded to a stop, her mind racing. The core chamber door loomed before her, its warning signs now flickering as power fluctuated. Beyond it lay the heart of the station, a massive crystalline structure that regulated everything from gravity to life support. The core needs to be physically reset. The Ethery chief engineer chimed frantically through their comms. But the chamber, the conditions. Let me guess, Henderson interrupted. Lethal to all known life. The gravity fluctuations alone would shatter any known species, the engineer confirmed. The radiation would be about what we deal with on a sunny day at the beach. Madison finished. She took a deep breath. Team, I need you all here. Now. They assembled before the core chamber door, their modified environmental suits gleaming under the emergency lights. Through the crystalline walls, they could see aliens watching them with what looked like a mixture of terror and hope. Here's the situation, Madison began. The core's crystal matrix is degrading. We need to stabilize it long enough for the treatment to kill the infection, then reinforce the structure before it shatters. If it breaks, the gravitational backlash will crush everything within 10 kilometers. So, no pressure, Henderson quipped, checking his suit's seals. Rodriguez, you'll need to weld the primary support struts. Torres, the infection needs to be treated directly at the source. Henderson, the gravity's going to be all over the place. You'll need to help us move around in there. I'll handle the reset sequence. The chamber's conditions, the Ethery engineer chimed softly. They are approaching Earth normal. The team exchanged looks. What was a death sentence to the aliens was home to them. Then we'll feel right at home, Rodriguez said, hefting her welding gear. Just another day at the office. They entered the core chamber together. The gravity shifted wildly, one moment crushing them with Earth-like force, the next leaving them weightless. Radiation levels that would kill most alien species washed over their naturally resistant bodies. The temperature, considered extreme by galactic standards, felt like a mild summer day. Henderson moved first, using the gravity fluctuations to his advantage. He created anchor points for the others, turning what the aliens saw as lethal conditions into a complex but manageable obstacle course. Rodriguez welded with precision that seemed impossible under the conditions, her deep-sea experience letting her work in the chaotic environment. The superheated plasma from her tools would have vaporized most species, but to her, it was routine. Torres administered the concentrated treatment directly to the infected sections of the crystal matrix, his steady hands never wavering despite the gravitational chaos. His Earth-evolved muscles compensated automatically for forces that would tear other species apart. And Madison, her fingers flying across the control interfaces, conducted their efforts like a symphony. The reset sequence was complex, requiring perfect timing between all their efforts. Matrix reaching critical, the AI warned. Now, Madison called. They moved as one. Henderson anchoring, Rodriguez welding, Torres treating, and Madison initiating the reset. The core flared with blinding light. For a moment, the gravity increased to Earth normal levels, and the team felt a curious sensation. They felt normal, while all around them, the station's structure groaned under what it considered impossible conditions. Then, like a wave receding, the crisis passed. The core's light stabilized to a gentle blue. The gravity smoothed out. The infection readings dropped to 0. Through the chamber's walls, they could see the aliens erupting in their equivalent of cheers, crystalline chimes, pulses of light, waves of color. How? The Ethery engineer asked in wonder. How did you survive those conditions? Madison smiled inside her helmet. On Earth, we call that perfect weather. 6 months after the medical station crisis, Madison stood at a podium in the newly constructed Galactic Emergency Response Division headquarters in Geneva. Through the facility's transparent crystalline walls, she could see ships from a dozen alien species hovering in the sky, each maintaining what they considered a safe distance from Earth's extreme environment. The universe, she began, addressing the first class of GERD recruits, turned out to be very different from what we imagined. We dreamed of being rescued by advanced aliens. Instead, we discovered that our greatest perceived weakness, evolving on what the galaxy calls a death world, is actually our greatest strength. In the front row, Torres, Rodriguez, and Henderson sat in their ceremonial GERD uniforms, each now bearing the insignia of training officers. Behind them, holographic displays showed emergency responses in progress across the galaxy. Humans working in environments no other species could survive, saving lives in conditions that would kill most sentient beings. Last week, Madison continued, our teams prevented a cascade failure in the Proxima Centauri mining colony. The week before that, we rescued 3 species from a damaged ship in what they considered crushing gravity, what we call a normal Tuesday. This is our new role in the galaxy. Not conquerors, not primitive beings to be uplifted, but protectors. She gestured to a crystalline plaque on the wall, displaying the first message they'd received from the Ethery. Help. We are dying. Our last hope lies with the warriors of the death world, Earth. They called us warriors not because we fight wars, but because our very existence is a constant battle against conditions that would kill any other known species. Every breath we take would be considered an act of incredible courage by galactic standards. The room's displays shifted to show the latest galactic survey. Earth, once classified as an extreme hazard world, now bore a new designation: Protected System, home of the universal emergency response species. Humanity spent centuries feeling small in the cosmos, Madison said, her voice carrying across the silent room. We looked up at the stars and felt insignificant, but we were measuring ourselves by the wrong standards. What we considered normal was extraordinary. What we saw as ordinary was incredible. She touched a control, and the room's gravity increased to Earth normal levels. The alien observers in their protective bubbles quickly retreated to the shielded observation deck, while the human recruits stood straighter, suddenly feeling at home. This, she gestured around, is why we're needed. The galaxy is full of wonders, but also full of environments that would kill most species instantly. Environments that, to us, feel like home. We're not just humanity anymore. We're the galaxy's rescue workers, emergency responders, and crisis specialists. Torres stood up, holding a small crystal, a piece of the medical station's core that had started it all. Our first mission taught us something crucial, he added. The galaxy doesn't need us to become more like them. It needs us precisely because we're different. Rodriguez smiled, her deep-sea experience now being used to train teams for high-pressure environment rescues. Every environment we considered harsh, every adaptation we thought held us back, turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed. Henderson, who had turned his parkour skills into a new microgravity rescue training program, grinned. We're not just surviving anymore. We're helping others survive. Madison looked out at the recruits, former firefighters, deep-sea divers, mountain rescue specialists, and others who had once been considered extreme environment workers on Earth. Now they were preparing to use those same skills on a galactic scale. The stars haven't changed, she concluded, but our place among them has. We are the children of Earth, forged in conditions that the galaxy considers impossible, And now, those same conditions have made us uniquely suited to be its guardians. She touched another control, and the ceiling became transparent, revealing the star-filled sky above. Welcome to the Galactic Emergency Response Division. You're about to discover that being born on a death world wasn't a curse. It was preparation for becoming the heroes the galaxy desperately needed. As the recruits stood to applaud, Madison caught a glimpse of her reflection in the crystalline walls. She saw not just a scientist who had helped make first contact, but a representative of a species that had finally found its place in the cosmos. They were the Death Worlders, the impossible survivors, the ones who ran toward dangers that would kill any other species. They were humanity, and they were exactly what the galaxy needed.